I grew up down the street, and I'd come back to see my mom and dad, 58 Ocean Avenue. My sister Jill lives there now. And we really love the Cowboys. We love what you're doing down there with the Cowboys, but, we root for you every week except when we play the Giants, right? You get that? Well, I gotten that 30 years, for the last 10, 15 years of my life. What an incredible night. It's so much fun to be here. I want to thank Janine and Harry for everything they do here and the commitment they make. I know how hard they work. To make a night like this and the impact in FCA in this community. I got a great text from Harry this week. Jay, so glad you're coming. I just really appreciate the whole thing. And it was just flowery and flowery and flowery. And at the end of it said, you got 2 minutes to introduce Coach Dungy. So I'm going to try my best. I said, absolutely, Harry. And then when I finished that text, I said, this is one of the all-time greats. It's hard to do this in 2 minutes, but I'm going to try. Coach Dungy, an amazing player at the University of Minnesota, played quarterback there, goes to the NFL, plays on one of the greatest teams ever, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 1970, a contributing player for them when they won all those Super Bowls back then. This is one of the all-time greats. He goes into coaching, regarded as one of the best position coaches, one of the best coordinators. When he becomes a head coach, one of the best head coaches in the history of the National Football League. 13 years, goes to the playoffs 11 times, 67% of his games he won, and he wins a Super Bowl. Pretty remarkable. But I got to tell you, that's not the story with the guy who's going to come up here and speak next. That really has nothing to do with the story. The best coaches get into coaching to impact lives, to help develop players, coaches, and staff members, become better at what they do, but more importantly, to become better people. I defy anybody in this room or really elsewhere to find someone who's done that better than Coach Dungy. Remarkable. The best leaders lead by example. They show you what they're looking for each and every day in everything that they do. I define you to find someone who's kinder, more thoughtful, more compassionate, more generous, more humble than Coach Dungy. His accomplishments are off the charts. Off the charts. He's regarded like he's on Mount Olympus. He's on Mount Rushmore in pro football. But all of those accomplished pale in comparison to the kind of person this guy is. I had the privilege to play and coach against his teams. They were remarkably good. The last 3 years, I've had the privilege to work with him at NBC. I can't tell you how unbelievable this man is as a person. His generosity, his thoughtfulness, his compassion, the example he sets for everyone around him, and how he just impacts. He walks into the room, people look at him with awe, and he just simply makes everybody better. He did that with players. He did that with coaches. He's done that with everybody he's ever come across in my life. And I've never seen a guy do that and have that kind of respect. It's an incredible privilege for me to be here to introduce the great Tony Dungy.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is incredible, Jason. Thank you. Uh-oh. Got to get my notes here. This is my son's iPad. There we go. Well, it's been just incredible being here. This is a wonderful turnout, wonderful cause, great people, and I just can't say enough about this whole operation, FCA, and everyone here, and my notes still aren't coming up properly. Just want to thank Harry for inviting me. We've kind of worked on this for a couple of years, and I'm just really, really touched to be here. But I do have to say, it made me a little nervous when he had his stopwatch out. He gave himself 7 minutes. He gave Jason 2 minutes. He was kind to me. He was kind of nice. He said, if you could just hold it to 25 minutes, because we've got a lot of other people, a lot of testimonies we need to hear from students, parents. Can you just hold it to 25 minutes? I told him it's not really going to be a problem because I'm a football coach. Football players don't have long attention spans. In fact, I didn't tell him this, but I've never spoken for 25 minutes in my entire life. Yeah. People think these halftime speeches we give are just so inspiring, and you're on top of it, and it just, what did you say in there? We have 12 minutes at halftime. Okay, Jason can tell you. It takes about 2 minutes to come off the field and get to the locker room. It takes 2 minutes to go back on the field. So now you really have 8 minutes. Players have to go to the bathroom, get their pads fixed and everything. So now you're down to about 6 minutes. Other people want to talk. My greatest halftime speech ever. We're playing the New England Patriots. I hope there's no Patriots fans in here, right? Playing the Patriots in the AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. They've beaten us 2 or 3 years in a row, and it's just we finally got them at home in Indianapolis. We're playing, and this is our year. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. We stink it up in the first half. We were behind 21-3. And I'm walking into the locker room knowing I've got about 6 minutes to get these guys inspired. We've got a TV right by our door, and it's on. And James Brown, great CBS guy, they've got the game. And just as I'm going in, he says, no team has ever come back from more than 10 points behind in a championship game. And why would he say that now? Let me get the team in the locker room first. And I started thinking, now, nobody's ever done this. We're down 21-6. What am I going to say? Got to have the best speech I've ever given because we got to win this game. Well, it's one of those now everybody's upset. Defensive coaches have their talk. Offensive coaches have their talk. Referee knocks. Got 2 minutes left. Peyton Manning, who usually doesn't say anything, he had to talk to the team. So he talks for a while. And now, I don't know how much time I have left, but I've got to inspire him. So I said, guys, we're playing terrible. If we don't start playing better fast, we're going to lose. And the ref knocks on the door. We got to go. And with that, we put up 32 points in the second half, most ever on a Bill Belichick team. And they asked me after the game, what did you say to turn that game around? I said, we got to start playing better fast or we're going to lose. But really, no, it was no problem for me to stay under 25 minutes because I wanted to hear these testimonies, and they've been awesome. They've been outstanding. But I am just so excited to be here because we're celebrating really two huge elements of our life in our society today, Christian faith and athletics. And they're both a big part of things. And I have to tell you that I had both of those growing up. But the problem is I didn't have them both at the same time. And that's why I think FCA is so important. I grew up in a really, really small town, Jackson, Michigan. I was blessed to have two extremely strong parents. Matter of fact, I had a great Christian background. Both of my grandparents, both sets of grandparents were strong Christians. My dad's dad was a pastor. And two of my uncles, my dad's brothers, were pastors. My dad sang in the choir. My mom taught Sunday school. So I heard about the Lord early on and often, and I loved it. I loved the way I grew up. I was really, really blessed. One day when I was very, very young at church, the pastor said, "Who wants to go to heaven?" Well, I'd heard so much about Jesus and heaven and everything, I shot my hand up. And he explained how you do it. Accept the fact that you're a sinner. Jesus died for you on the cross for your sins, paid the price. If you believe that, you're going to heaven. Hey, I want to go. I want to go. I can't remember how young I was, but I did that. And the Lord took care of me. And that was my foundation. But like so many young boys, my focus changed a little bit. When I was 8 years old, my parents decided they wanted to go to grad school. My dad wanted to work on his PhD, and my mom wanted to get a master's in education. So we moved to Michigan State University, moved into the married housing, and my third, fourth, and fifth grade, we lived right on campus at Michigan State. Well, I got introduced to big-time sports then. I became a Spartan fan, basketball, football. Some of my greatest memories, walking to the stadium with my dad on Dollar Day. And you young people, you probably can't even relate to this, but on Dollar Day at Michigan State, you could buy a ticket and sit in the end zone for $1. So my dad used to take me and I'd watch the Spartans, and it was just awesome seeing that big-time football. Well, needless to say, I became a sports nut. And those 3 years living on that campus were so much fun for me. But then it got worse. We moved back to Jackson when I was in the sixth grade, 1968, and it was a great sports year for me. I was 12 years old. Our Little League team won the state championship. We were one game away from going to the Little League World Series. We lost to Indiana to go to the World Series. That fall, 1968, the Detroit Tigers won the World Series, beat the St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm listening with my transistor radio every game. Supposed to be in school because they had day games back then. We got the transistor radio underneath the desk, listening to the Tigers. Yeah, been there. Well, later on, football season rolls around. The New York Jets upset the Baltimore Colts in the Super Bowl. Joe Namath made it fun to be a quarterback and cool to be a quarterback, so I did. Well, those weren't even my favorite sports. My favorite sport was basketball, and I shot and played and did as much as I could do. So I was now 13 years old, and I'm hooked on sports. Now, I still went to church with my parents, but that was on Sunday only, because Monday through Saturday was for sports. Oh, and one other thing, it was for grades. So my parents both being teachers, no grades, no play. So that's where my priorities were when I was 13-year-old. Sports was number one. Grades number two, because I had to have grades to play. And then God was there, but number three, way down, number three. But there was one good thing about it, and that was the sports, because I wasn't hanging with the church crowd, but I was hanging with the athletes. And the athletes kept me out of trouble because the athletes had rules that they had to live up to. And that helped guide me for the next few years while I was in high school. My high school years went really well. I continued to do well in school, and I was finding my way as an athlete, earning letters, football, basketball, baseball, track. We didn't win any championships, but we were close. And then twice I was named All-State in Michigan in basketball. My senior year, I made the parade All-American team as a quarterback in football. And that's how it was all the way through high school. Sports number one, school number two, Christ number three. And it stayed that way in college, too. I was blessed to go to the University of Minnesota. Played football and basketball there. Same priorities, but one thing did change. I didn't go to church now because my parents weren't there to take me and make sure that I got there. A lot of times during the season, we'd have practice on Sunday or meetings on Sunday after games. In the off season, I didn't really go to church. I'd use Sundays to catch up on my schoolwork, make sure my grades were right. So I didn't give the Lord much thought during my college career at all, except one time. One time, one of the Minnesota Vikings players came over, Jeff Seaman, their middle linebacker, great star player, and he talked to us in a football team meeting about getting an FCA huddle started on campus. Well, guys kicked around the idea, and it just didn't really take off. They got it started the next year after I left. But that was about the only time I really gave the Lord a thought until about this time in my senior year. April draft was coming around, 1977. I had played quarterback. We had a great system there. I had a great offensive coach by the name of Tom Moore. We threw the ball more than most teams did in the Big Ten. I had set some records for the school, set a couple of Big Ten records, and I was sure that I was going to get drafted and play quarterback in the NFL. So it was about this time we're preparing for the draft, and I'm having dinners with coaches and excited about my possibilities. Well, the draft comes. And back in that day, it wasn't covered like it is now. We cover the draft. Everybody knows what's going on. Again, we had to have the radio out to see what was going on. You sat in your apartment or dorm. You waited for the phone call. My roommate was our best wide receiver, a guy named Mike Jones. We'd been friends since high school. 5th round comes. Mike got the call. The Giants drafted him. We were all excited. We celebrated a little bit. A couple of hours go by, a couple of more hours. Nothing happens. Now it's dark out. It's about 9 o'clock. And I said, well, I don't understand this. I haven't gotten a call. So we called our friend who worked at the newspaper. And I said, is the draft, what round are they in? The guy said, the draft's been over for 2 hours. I said, it can't be over. I didn't get a call yet. I said, I'm sorry, the draft's been over for 2 hours. And I tell you, I was crushed. I was crushed. I remember walking out of my apartment, walking around campus, and I actually prayed for the first time in a long time. I prayed and I said, Lord, how could you do this to me? All the hard work that I've done, everything that I've poured into this, how could you? It's just gone down the drain. It's all gone. And I was devastated. Well, Jeremiah 29:11, it's a verse you might know well. I know the plans I have for you, plans for good, not for your harm, but for your good. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but God had a great plan for me, a really good plan that was going to change my life. The Canadian Football League had their draft already, and the Montreal Alouettes had my rights, and they wanted me to be a quarterback. They offered me a big signing bonus and a pretty much guaranteed contract if I would go to Canada and play quarterback. The night after the draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers called, and my coach, Tom Moore, had gone to the Steelers, and he was coaching there, and he called me. He said, Coach Knoll really likes you. We don't need a quarterback. We've got Terry Bradshaw, so we don't need you to play quarterback. But Coach Knoll likes smart guys, and he likes versatile guys, and they think you could play defense and maybe be a safety. We're going to offer you $2,000 if you make the team. No, we'll give it to you up front, signing bonus. Well, now I had a decision to make. Big signing bonus, guaranteed money, play quarterback in Canada, or try to play a position I've never played. I've never made a tackle before in my life. Go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and try to join the Steel Curtain, and I've never made a tackle in my life. And they're going to give me $2,000. I didn't know it at the time, but something inside me just said, you want to play with the best. Go to Pittsburgh. And it didn't make sense. Everybody tried to talk me out of it, but I just wanted to go, and I did it. And I know now it was the Holy Spirit telling me this is what God has in store for you. But I didn't know then. Something just, I want to go to Pittsburgh. I want to play with the best. So I went, and my life changed. Everything changed around for me just like that. Got to our first meeting. The Steelers had already won 2 Super Bowls. I'm there now trying to figure out how to make the team. My mom told me always be there early, be in the front row, take good notes. So I've got my notebook out. First one in the meeting room. Coach Noel comes in, welcomes us, and I'll never forget. He says, "Gentlemen, welcome to the National Football League." And I'm expecting him to say, you worked hard in high school, you worked hard in college, you're going to have to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard. Stakes are higher. I'm ready for that. I'm writing, and he says, you're now getting paid to play football. It's your profession. But don't make football your whole life. If you make football your whole life, understand this, you're going to have to leave the game at some point. And if football is your whole life, you're going to leave the game disappointed. And I'm writing that down. And I said, man, this guy sounds like my mother. Well, the next thing he does, normally they put rookies together. Veterans all have their roommates. Well, he knew I had never played defense, so he puts me with a guy by the name of Donnie Shell as a roommate. He says, you don't know much about playing safety. Watch this guy. He's very good. He'll teach you everything you need to know. Well, Donnie was great. He's now in the Hall of Fame as a safety man. But I didn't know it at the time. The strongest, most outgoing Christian man I've ever been around. And he's now my roommate. So I'm watching and doing what Coach Noel says. I'm watching everything he does. And he's reading his Bible in the morning. He's reading his Bible when he goes to bed. He tells me, hey, we've got a Bible study Wednesday night after the last meetings. You need to be there. Okay, Coach Noel said, do everything he does, follow him. So I'm going. Come in the first Bible study, there's 25 guys in there. And it's all my guys, all my heroes that I've watched. Mel Blount, J.T. Thomas, Donnie Shell, Larry Brown, John Kolb, L.C. Greenwood. Wow, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. Well, I got the understanding for the first time that athletics and Christian go together, and that the Christian part was more important. Miraculously, somehow I make the team. Have a decent first year. Our second year, we win another Super Bowl. And the guy who had never made a tackle, never played defense in his life, led the team in interceptions. As the saying goes, only God could do that. Well, I led the team in interceptions. We won the Super Bowl, but because of my time hanging around those guys and understanding what's really important, that wasn't important to me. That wasn't the important thing. I'm starting to get the hang. It's what God wants for you. And that was critical that I learned that, because right after that, beginning of my third year, I got traded from the Steelers to what was the worst team in football that year, the San Francisco 49ers. It was Coach Walsh's first year. We ended up winning 2 games while my buddies back at the Steelers got another Super Bowl ring. But God was showing me something, and he was showing me that his plan wasn't for me to go on and have a long career as a player. I was going to end up being a coach. I got traded again to the Giants. I got cut by the Giants at 25 years old. I was out of football. No one else wanted me. Well, I prayed again after I got cut by the Giants, but this time it wasn't, God, what did you do to me? It's, God, what are you trying to show me? What do you have in store for me? I know you've got something good for me. couple of days later, Coach Noel called, and he said, have you ever thought about being a coach? I said, no, I really hadn't. He said, well, you like the game, you've got good communication skills, you know our system, you know what we're doing, I've got a spot for you. So at 25 years old, I became, at that time, the youngest assistant coach in the NFL. And it was just a joy to be back with the Steelers. But it also helped me out because that's when I got involved with FCA. I had a friend that I met by the name of Clyde Christensen. He was coaching at Clemson. And he said, there's this coaches camp, FCA coaches camp in Black Mountain, North Carolina. I think you really ought to go there. I think it would be a real help to you, a blessing to you. It's for coaches and their families. And I went there, and it was just unbelievable. The coaches that I saw and the coaches that I met that became role models for me. Grant Taft was the president of the College Football Coaches Association at the time. I knew he was a tremendous coach, but I didn't know that spiritual background. I didn't know that he was such a strong Christian. I got to meet him and learn from him. There was another guy there, Ken Sparks, that was just a tremendous man. He coached at Carson Newman College, a small Christian school, turned out great players, won a lot. He got offered so many times to go to the bigger schools, University of Tennessee and the SEC schools, and he said, no, the Lord has me right where I'm supposed to be. I'm staying here. I've got a ministry here. And I just watched that, and I said, boy, you can be successful. You can win. You can do it the right way, honor the Lord, and still win. And those guys were tremendous. Well, once I got involved with FCA, I started getting opportunities to speak at huddles and some of the things that you've seen here that go on at the high schools and the college level, and it was tremendous. 15 years as an assistant coach, and I get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers job in 1996. Kind of a culmination of a dream. One of the first calls I got after I got the job was from the area director of FCA in Florida, and he said, would you mind speaking to the University of Florida FCA huddle? I think it would be great. We'd love to have you. I said, okay. Gainesville is about a 2-hour drive from Tampa. I said, I'd love to come up. When is it? 10:30 p.m. Wednesday night. Thinking, okay, 10:30. I'll go up there and speak. Maybe stay up there an hour, hour and a half. It's going to be 1 o'clock in the morning by the time I get back. And who's going to be there at 10? What college student's going to be there at 10:30 at night on a Wednesday? But I said, I'll go. That's probably what the Lord wants. So drive up, get to Gainesville, meet the guy, walk in. There are 400 students, athletes, at 10:30 at night. And the leader of the FCA huddle told me, yeah, this is when we have it because there's no excuses. There's no class. There's no practice. There's no study halls. They don't have any excuse not to be there. They had 400 people there. And I remember walking in there and addressing that group, and it was so emotional for me. And I said, man, wouldn't that have been great for me if I'd had that? If I'd had a group like that, I don't think I would have wasted 7 years. I wouldn't have wasted spiritually my high school and college years. I don't have many regrets in my life, but that is one of them because I went from a guy who knew the Lord and understood what God wanted to 7 years of being tunnel vision and putting sports first and leaving Christ out of it. And it wasn't until I was 21 and got to the Pittsburgh Steelers that Christ got back in. So that's why I'm here tonight. That's why I love FCA so much, and that's why I'm so glad you're here, because FCA helps our young people understand that they don't have to put Jesus in third place. Okay? That yes, you can be a good athlete, you can be a good student, and still have Christ in first place. And that's a great, great lesson for us. It really is. And that's why I love doing these events. That's why I'd fly from 85-degree Tampa, Florida, to here, to be here with you, because I just want to encourage all the young people that are here. You've heard from a lot of them, but stay involved with FCA and be those leaders that we need and keep God in first place. And to the adults here, we can definitely support this ministry. It is so, so important to remind our young people just where they are and to help and get those huddle leaders out there. And FCA can go places that we can't go, and they can reach people that we can't reach, and they can minister to coaches who then reach other people. And it's so, so critical. So you saw the stats, you saw the charts, you saw what's needed. I'm just going to urge you to reach in those pockets and reach in your hearts and support this, because it makes a huge difference. I know what a difference it made in my life once I got involved with FCA and really put God back first. One of the great moments I had was a chapel service in Dallas. And Coach Garrett knows the name, Tony Evans, tremendous minister in the Dallas area. And he gave a chapel service, and he talked about being a Christian all the time. He said, you know, I'm up here at the podium, I'm giving the message, you expect me to be a Christian now. Well, I've got news for you. When I walk out and get back in my car, I'm still going to be a Christian. I'm going to be a Christian driver. When I get home, I'm going to be a Christian husband. And when I go across the street, I'm going to be a Christian neighbor. And he went on and on like that. And he said, the point is, I'm going to be a Christian all the time. How about you? And I was a young player at that time. And I thought, yeah, I am a Christian in the chapel service. And I'm a Christian in church at 11 o'clock. But when I go out on that field and the guy blocks me in the back, I'm not always a Christian then. Or when I knock the ball down and I think it's a good play and the ref throws a flag and says it's pass interference, I'm not always a Christian then. So I need to start being a Christian all the time. And I think that's the message that FCA gives our young people, that it's important to be a Christian all the time. And that's a message we need in this country. So please join me in helping support this. And I thank you for being here. It's been awesome. Ray, did I make it under my 25 minutes?